thought, okay, maybe I'll give the audiobook a try, and I listened to a preview of it and it's awful. I think the area that they're in sounds like it's really beautiful, so I'm holding out hope that I'm really gonna like Minnesota. My reading. I started Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez last night, and I'm only 10% of the way through, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I am liking it so far, which is kind of shocking. I didn't think that I would be so interested from the get-go, but I think the plot is really fun. If you've never heard of it, it's basically like two people are really unlucky in love and other people say that they're cursed. That like after they stop dating these people, like what are their names? Justin? I think maybe it's Justin or James, I think. And then, what's her name? Emma, I think. Really, I could be completely off. I'm so sorry. I listened to this as I'm going to sleep. And then the next morning, I kind of have to like backtrack and figure out at what point in time I actually went to sleep. I'll put like a timer on for 45 minutes or so. It takes me a long time to go to sleep normally. I've got insomnia, so that's why I usually tend to rip through audiobooks, because I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be unable to go to sleep, and then I'll just put on an audiobook until I can go back to sleep. So I tend to kind of tear through audiobooks because of my insomnia. And so this one I was able to do like 10%, which is like an hour or so last night. But because I was sleeping and because it's still like so new, like I've only spent like a single night with these characters, like I really don't know them that well and I'm not that far in the book. And so I think it's maybe Justin. It's definitely a J name for sure. And then Emma. And basically people say that like men after they date Emma, then they go on to find the love of their life. And women after they date Justin, I want to say, then they go on to find the love of their life. Like literally even his best friend started dating somebody and is getting married or is already married to somebody that he dated, which is so weird. And so his friend like posted about it on Reddit, and there's like billboards or whatever. Like it's this huge joke. And then they found each other and they thought, why don't we date each other and then we'll cancel out each other's curses. So I'm really liking that plot so far. I think it's really creative and I think it's fun and I think it's absolutely something that could happen in real life. People are so superstitious and I just think it's just a really fun idea. I think just in general, the writing is good. I think that the audiobook that I'm listening to in particular is quite good because they've got a male narrator for the male protagonist. And then they also have somebody who I think I've heard her before. I can't remember her name. I'll put it on the screen. Maybe I've not heard her before, but her voice sounds so familiar to me and she's quite good. And so it's the two of them speaking. And so then when it's Justin, I'm just gonna call him Jay because I know his name starts with a J. When it's Jay's part, then the guy is reading, and then when it's Emma's part, then the girl is reading. And I like that quite a bit. I just think it keeps things really interesting in the audiobook. So I think picking the audiobook was a good choice. I really actually only picked the audiobook because it was less time that I had to wait. I think that the ebook on Libby, because I almost always exclusively use Libby, the ebook was, I think, like a 6 or 7 month wait, which is crazy. But I still waited almost that amount of time for the audiobook. I waited, I think, maybe 4 months or so. So it was a couple of months less, but it was still waiting multiple months to read this book or to listen to this book in my case now. But I really did want to read it on my Kindle because I kind of thought, okay, this will be in summer and it's a summery book. I'll be reading it then. I'll probably want to read it on my Kindle because I'll be spending time at the lake. We live next to a huge lake in Germany. And we go there like all the time during summer, usually. Or we go to the river, like the Isar river in Germany, which we actually did just a couple of days ago, earlier in this video that you saw. And so I thought I just want to read it on my Kindle so I can relax at the water and have a good time outside. I could obviously do that with headphones in, listening to an audiobook, but I just really wanted something on my Kindle. But yeah. Fate decided it for me. I was not interested in waiting 6 months for this book, so I just did the audiobook. I usually always pick whatever takes less time for me to get, and sometimes that's the audiobook and sometimes that's the ebook. But then in my physical library here in Germany, if I'm reading a German book, for example, I almost exclusively read that on my Kindle as an ebook or as a physical book. I really don't like German narrations for audiobooks. I don't know. To me, it's really excruciating, honestly, to listen to it. I'll have to put a clip up of an audiobook. Like, I thought maybe I'll listen to Erwacht from Ursula Poznansky, I think is her name. I thought maybe I'll listen to that on audiobook because it was available at my library and they don't have the physical book at my library, which is really frustrating. And so I thought, okay, maybe I'll give the audiobook a try, and I listened to a preview of it and it's awful. It's so bad. The guy reading it just sounds like, I don't know, like it's awful. It's weird. I'll play you a little clip so you can hear what it sounds like.
Es sah Colin nicht ähnlich, ohne Erklärung wegzubleiben. Wusste genau, wie schnell man aus Trainer Bethany's Team flog. Colins Handy war auch nicht an. Hatte garantiert wieder vergessen, den Akku zu laden.
I will say that people in Germany, like real life people, sound so much better than this guy on the audiobook. He just sounds like, I don't know, almost like a little kid, very weird, like very like excited, like it's too weird to me and I just don't like it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about Rebus right now. I'm looking at a different library to see if maybe then I could get a physical copy or an ebook because my library only has the audiobook. They don't have an ebook either. No physical book, no ebook, just audiobook. And I'm not gonna put myself through that. So yeah. So anyways, back to Just for the Summer. I really don't have that much to say about it because I just started it, but I am liking it so far. I think it's fun. I will say I think it's bonkers, like absolutely off the wall crazy that they were going to go, like Emma and her friend, to Hawaii for 6 weeks or maybe 6 months. I think it was 6 weeks. But they were going to go to Hawaii. They're nurses and they were going to go there and be stationed or whatever and do some nursey things, and then afterwards she was gonna meet Jay, whatever the heck his name is. And then they were gonna do like their little experiment to date each other to see if they can cancel out each other's curses. And they were just gonna wait until after she was done with her trip in Hawaii. And then her friend basically convinced her not to, and to then station themselves to where Jay is located, which I think's Minnesota, maybe Michigan. I think it's Minnesota. It's definitely with an M. This is how it usually goes for like the first 20% of a book. I know like the general ideas and themes, and I know maybe what a character's name starts with, like the first letter or the first letter of the city, but I don't know it specifically, not yet. So bear with me, I'm sorry. But she was gonna go to whatever M state it was and not Hawaii. And her friend said something like that they shouldn't have even been going to Hawaii in the first place because it's not on their top 25 states that they want to go to in the US. Why would you not want to go to Hawaii? Why would you pick Michigan or Minnesota, whatever the heck it was, over Hawaii? Like, I can't even fathom that. Like, I was so shocked. That like woke me up out of my sleep. I was like almost asleep and I read or listened to that part, and I was like, what? Why would you not want to go there? I don't understand. Like, maybe it's medical related. Like, maybe they didn't want to go there because being a nurse in Hawaii is not that nice compared to Minnesota or Michigan, wherever the heck they went. I don't know. But that was like so shocking to me because never in a million years could you ever convince me to go anywhere other than Hawaii if I had planned to go there during the summer for 6 weeks. Like, there's no other state. There's almost no other place on earth I would rather go than to Hawaii during the summer. Like, that would be my dream. And I was so shocked that they had already planned that. They'd already booked their flights, I'm pretty sure, and everything. And then they just decided to go somewhere else that, I'm sorry, but just seems so boring compared to Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe I'll grow to really love this state through reading this book. Again, I don't even know which state it is. I think it's Minnesota. I don't know. But maybe I'll really grow to love it throughout this book. I think that would be nice because honestly, I've never really been anywhere in that region. Like, I've mostly been on the West Coast in the United States because I lived on the West Coast. I grew up, I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and I just lived in San Diego my entire life until I moved to Germany. And so I really only have experience with that area. I did take a road trip to visit my aunt and uncle in Chicago once, and so we just went straight across that way. But that's the only like branch out that I've ever had across, like, I don't know, Nevada, I want to say. Like, I've been to Nevada, like New Mexico, Arizona, Seattle's not a state, Washington, and like Oregon, California, etc. Like, all of those places, been to all of them a million times. But I've never really been to the East Coast. I've never been to the North, really. And so I have zero experience with these places, and I feel like most people don't really choose them for books, which I think is kind of a shame. I really like variety and I like reading about more places. So I am kind of excited to see if maybe the state will intrigue me more. I really don't think it's ever going to intrigue me more than Hawaii. But maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, that's my only qualm with that book so far. And it's not even a qualm. It's just like, it was just so shocking to me. But obviously you have to move the book forward somehow. And it wouldn't really make sense for her to spend like 6 weeks apart from him in Hawaii when he's like not there and can't even visit her. So it makes sense book-wise. Does not make sense to me real life-wise. But I am excited to see, yeah, how it goes, and if I decide that I actually really want to visit this state, maybe. So that's that. Also, a quick update on Arkadien, Erwacht. I started reading it a couple of days ago when my husband and I went to the Isar, and we weren't there for that long. So I really didn't read that much because it started pouring, and also mosquitoes came out. So it was kind of a little bit sad at the end. And we did have to race to the car being bitten by mosquitoes, having to literally sidestep naked people right and left because Germany is so free with that. Like, anytime you go to the river, like, old naked people all over. And what's really funny to me is they'll wear shoes, like, to protect their feet, but they won't wear anything else. And so it will just be like, I don't know, tons of naked people standing around, especially in certain areas. And unfortunately, to get to the area that my husband and I like to go to, where there's really not that many people and where everyone wears clothes, you have to walk past the area of the naked people. And it's not like a nudist area. Technically, they're not supposed to be naked, but it's Germany, and so nobody cares. And you like walk by and there's just like 20 old people like just standing around, just talking to each other, not even like sitting down relaxing or anything, like just always standing, like hands on their hips, just like chatting to each other, butt naked, but with like hiking boots on. And it's like the funniest, weirdest thing to me ever. Like we just like really quickly like race by, like my husband and I. It's the worst part of going there, but it's a really nice place in general. And the storm literally happened and we were walking back, and then there's like all of these naked old people also like fleeing to their cars, but like not even putting their clothes on. Like they didn't even want to take the time to change before they went back to their car. And so we're like racing through the forest while other people are also racing through the forest wearing nothing but hiking boots, like running past us. Like it was chaotic to say the least. So yeah, that was on Saturday. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, because the storm happened and because there were so many mosquitoes, we really didn't have that much time to read. Or I didn't have that much time to read. My husband just honestly was like that meme from SpongeBob, like a little like caveman kind of SpongeBob. That was my husband. Like honestly, I was reading and he was just running around in the area around us, picking up like pieces of driftwood and like throwing it, and, like skipping rocks and seeing if he could like throw pieces of wood and stuff to the other side of the river where it's just like a cliffside or whatever. There's not people over there, don't worry. And so he was doing that. And then I was reading, but I was only able to read a teeny tiny little bit. And I'm liking it so far, but it's definitely, I don't know. I think I mentioned this before, like that the language, it just takes me a while to get used to it. So I'm still getting used to it, and it's still, I don't know, it's not super easy. It's really not that hard either, but it's just sometimes there are words that I would not have used and I've not heard my friends use, and my language definitely is influenced by my husband and my friends. Like what I'm learning is what they're outputting. Like what they output is my direct input. So I don't know what it is. It's just like strange to me sometimes. Like maybe a little bit too dramatic sounding, which makes the whole thing feel kind of cheesy. It just has like a vibe to me that's like maybe try hard, I guess. And so I'm not really sure what to think about this book so far. I think it's interesting so far, but I don't know. I'm uncertain about it. We'll see. Honestly, I'm kind of reaching for other books. Like I'd rather read just for the summer instead, or rather listen to it. Anyways, that's my update for now. I will see you later on in this week once I have read a little bit more, but honestly, I'm probably not going to have a super big update at the end of this week. I think this might be a really short vlog. So we'll see. Bye. Hi, so final update for this week. I realized that I really only gave you guys one update in this video, and I didn't even talk about another book that I was reading, and I don't even know why. My brain's not working very well because I'm so stressed with university and I have so much to do, and so it just like completely slipped my mind. I'm so sorry. But that is another book from Kenley Davidson, who I read in my last vlog, like, I don't even know, 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago maybe or so, give or take. And I really liked her. And I read The Faceless Mage and the Unseen Heir, which are book 1 and book 2 of the Legends of Abrea from her. It's a 6-book series, and it's basically one couple every 2 books. And I read that book, and I wasn't really ready to go back into that world with a different couple. I generally don't really like that. If I've read one book and if I've learned about a world and entered a series with one couple, I don't usually like reading about other couples. And I don't know why, but it just really bothers me, and I don't want to read about anybody else in this world. I want to read about the people that I want to read about. I want to read about my couple, which is Lisa and Kieran. And so, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really interested in reading anymore right now. I definitely will read them in the future because I really, really, really like Kenley Davidson, but I was looking for something else. And on Libby, the only other book by Kenley Davidson is Traitor's Mask, which is book 1 of what I believe is called the Andari Chronicles. And basically they're standalone books. I think it's also 6. I think she just really likes the number 6. These are fairy tale retellings, and like I said, they're just standalone books, so you don't have to read them in order. You can pick and choose whatever you want. And the first one, Traitor's Mask, is the only one that's available on Libby, and it's also probably the one that I'm least interested in. I definitely did not want to read this book before, because it's a Cinderella retelling, and I'm not the biggest fan of Cinderella in general. I don't know, I just never really was. However, I heard that this is similar to Ever After, and that really intrigued me. I don't know if you've seen the movie Ever After, but I really like it. I think it's a really good retelling of Cinderella, and it makes it more interesting to me. I don't know, I just really, really like that version much more than the Disney version or anything else. And this book definitely really, really, really strongly took after Ever After. It's very similar to Ever After. And so I did really like the book. I finished it. I didn't tell you about starting it or about reading it or about finishing it, but I did it all this week throughout this vlog. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I rated it 5 stars. But it was 4.5 rounded up to 5. It's definitely not necessarily my vibe. It's more royal court life, which I have already said probably 10 different times on my various vlogs and my various videos and everything that I'm kind of sick of that this year, and I don't really know why, but it just keeps sneaking up in books that I'm reading. Like, I think a book maybe won't be that much about royalty or about court life, and then I'm in the midst of reading it and I find out it's completely about royal court life. That was with The Faceless Mage, for example. And The Shadows Between Us, the biggest disappointment of this entire year for me, potentially the biggest disappointment ever for a book. It really was so bad. That book also was so much about royal court life when I was not expecting it to be. And I just really am sick of it. It's not my favorite in general, and to be reading so much about it is kind of driving me up a wall. And so this book, yeah, I thought that I wouldn't like it that much, and I was right, it's not really my vibe, but the writing was so good, and the slow burn romance was so good and so sweet. I really think Kenley Davidson does such a good job of that. I saw some negative reviews on this book saying that there was no romance at all, and I think that's crazy. I think that's just people who really like smut, and they require smut to be in books for it to be considered romance. And there's no smut. These are, I think Kenley Davidson in general only writes clean books. And she tends to write really slow burn romances. And so I don't even know if they kissed in the book at all. They maybe kissed like at the very final scene. But for sure it wasn't super romancy in that aspect. But in all the other aspects though, it was so sweet. And they just really became friends before they went down any romantic roads, which I really like and I really appreciated in this book. And I feel like the negative reviews are just people who don't appreciate that. So if that's not your vibe, don't read this book. You're not gonna like it. But if that is your vibe, if you like really slow burn, clean romances, then you're probably gonna love this book, and you're probably gonna love everything else by Kenley Davidson, because again, this is my third book from her, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I loved it just like I loved the other ones. Even though the vibe was not totally up my alley, I still really think that the way it was written and the plot and just how everything was presented and the characters, everything, I enjoyed quite a lot. And yeah, so I finished that. I can't even remember now, honestly. It was a couple of days ago, maybe, I want to say. I think it was around the time that I started Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I want to say maybe I finished it like a day after I started that book, and I don't know why I never mentioned that to you guys. I'm sorry. So anyways, that's that one. And then I really have not read Just for the Summer much more. I think maybe I've read like 30 more minutes or something, and I'm still liking it just as much as I liked it before. I do think Minnesota is appealing to me a little bit more because, can you see the shadow of my cat? He just jumped up onto his little hammock thing on the window over there, and you can see him in the TV. Anyways, yeah, I think the area that they're in sounds like it's really beautiful, so I'm holding out hope that I'm really gonna like Minnesota, and I've confirmed 100% it is Minnesota, and I've also confirmed his name is Justin. I know it now, it's locked in, I'm not gonna forget it, don't worry. But yeah, I've not read it too much more, so I really can't give you another update. And then also Arkadien, erwacht, I've not read that at all since my last update. It just, I don't know, like what I said, it felt really cheesy to me, and I'm just not craving that right now. And then also, as you saw, I got a whole bunch more books available to me on Libby, and I think I'm going to send back Dragonfly and Amber, not send it back, but I think I'm going to let the next person borrow it. That's the second book in the Outlander series. I think that's just not possible right now. I don't have the time to read that and to read everything else that I've got on my plate. And I think for Iron Flame, technically I also don't have time to read it because it's also an incredibly long audiobook. Both of them are audiobook versions. But for Iron Flame, I just want to read it so bad. I've been craving it since I finished Fourth Wing. That's book 2 in the Empyrean series. There's Fourth Wing and then there's Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. And so since I finished Fourth Wing, I've just wanted to read Iron Flame. And so I think I'm just going to borrow that, and then, I don't know, I'm just going to fit it in somewhere. And I still have to find erwacht. I haven't really looked that much because I really don't want to listen to it on audiobook. And I can't find it anywhere else right now, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm kind of scrambling a little bit with that book, but I don't know, I'll figure something out. I'm gonna try to go to another library, as I mentioned, sometime whenever I can fit it in, and then see if they've got a physical copy of the book that I could pick up. Yeah. Anyways, that is all for the vlog this week. I hope you guys have an amazing week as well and an amazing rest of the month, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.